David Tennant returns as the Doctor for his third series, a year that he'd always intended would be his final in the role. Just like the time I said I would only order 3 pizzas, and that's it.
I'm so sorry, but you've got to try.
But before you know it, you're tucking into 5 calzones spread out over a year, ending with the end of Pizza Part 2. But we are getting ahead of ourselves.
Ah, it's you!
We have another new companion and more guest stars that you could comfortably fit into a minibus on a day trip to see the 8th wonder of the world, Milton Keynes Roundabouts. Doctor Who Series 4.
Dear God, you're hard work, young. Yeah, who are you?
The year was 2008. There was the great financial crisis. Shia LaBeouf, Coldplay. But look, things weren't all bad. Doctor Who had reached a popularity unheard of since the early 1980s. The show's continuing success has to be chalked up to the combination of star David Tennant and showrunner Russell T Davies. As would become standard procedure for Doctor Who's head writer, Davies would write the bulk of the scripts and would admit to having rewritten, polished or edited most of the scripts by other writers. Hey baby, it's his show. The relaunched series' 4th year and the third to star David Tennant was imagined to be the last full series for both, but Davies and Tennant would hang around for just a bit longer.
You can stop now. I was there for that bit.
When we covered series 3, there were 1 or 2 big names, or soon to be famous faces, most of Martha's family. But series 4 was full of big names, soon to be stars, and a fair few people who'd appeared in Doctor Who before. We'll try to point them out where we can if A, we can remember, B, we can be asked to. There is also an option C, but I can't remember to be asked to tell you what it is. As was the style at the time, our story begins in 2007, but not with that year's Christmas special, but the specially shot sketch for the BBC's annual fundraising telethon, Children in Need. David Tennant's favourite Doctor, Peter Davison, turns up, and we have a few charming moments between the 5th and the 10th Doctors.
And then I was you. And I was all dashing about and playing cricket and my voice going all squeaky when I shouted. I still do that.
I can't speak for casual UK viewers, but I'm just running this up the flagpole and seeing if a crow makes off with it. Did mainstream UK viewers of Britain's annual fundraising telethon Children in Need think, oh blimey, it's the 5th Doctor, when Peter Davison appeared? I mean, for me, he was the first Doctor that I saw from the very beginning, but realistically, out of all of the classic series Doctors, Davison has had lead roles in more series than any other Doctor. A Very Peculiar Practice, At Home with the Braithwaites, or that show where he has his arm up a cow's bum. Campion. I think I may have needed to proofread that last sentence just a little bit better. But look, he was still my Doctor, or at least one of my 26 favourite screen-used Doctors.
You've changed the desktop theme, haven't you? What's this one? Coral?
Voyage of the Dam is a riff on the Poseidon adventure, mixed in with a teeny tiny bit of the 1973 movie Westworld. And then it's sprinkled with so much of RTD's magic dust to make all of the disparate elements come together. It's at least not linked to the 70s film of the exact same name, which is a relief because that one sounds a mite depressing.
What?
The Titanic turns out to be an alien space liner. Apparently the name was available to be used as a ship for 2100 unfathomable reasons.
It was chosen as the most famous vessel of the planet Earth.
Did they tell you why it was famous?
The giant ship full of aliens swings past Earth at Christmas, so half a dozen of them can beam down to Earth for a major gawping session. It's Christmas and London is almost deserted, apart from this guy. It's Wilf! The place is a ghost town, but on the plus side, the previous 2 Christmases where aliens caused untold grief has made parking that little bit easier.
And it smells. It stinks!
But the plot needs to get going, and the ship's captain has been paid to, well, cause the ship to crash into Earth. The ship is damaged beyond repair and the Doctor has to lead a group of survivors to, well, safety. Well, I guess, because most of them die. They're pursued by the ship's robotic hosts who are crucially not the same as the robots of death, since that would require the BBC to pay Chris Boucher. Instead, they're other robots of death. They're also not angels, since that would require the BBC to pay Stephen Moffat. So look, they're just robots who have been reprogrammed to kill the passengers. Oh, the humanity. Wait, that's the wrong ship.
Information kill.
Of the survivors, there's the nasty rich guy, the sweet couple who want a trip on the Titanic, there's Banakafalata.
Look, can I just call you Banner? It's going to save a lot of time.
No. Banakafalata.
And the world's second worst tour guide, Mr. Copper, whose grasp of Earth customs is about as strong as Uncle Reg's command of accountancy laws, which, to cut a long story short, with good behaviour, he'll be out in 3 years.
The people of UK go to war with the country of Turkey.
They then eat the turkey people for Christmas dinner.
Voyage of the Damned is frothy, silly, has pathos and drama. It's a fairly solid and fun, crowd-pleasing Christmas special, made more memorable by the cast, which includes an enjoyable acting performance from Kylie Minogue as Astrid. Now there's a sentence I never thought I'd say in relation to Doctor Who. Russell Tovey pops up, as does well-known Geoffrey Palmer, who funnily enough did a few appearances in Doctor Who before. And the voice of the Queen was Jessica Martin, who again was in Doctor Who before. And Clive Swift, who'd done Doctor Who before. And Bernard Cribbins, who was again in Doctor Who, but in one of the 1960s feature films. We'll talk more of Wilf in a bit, but at the time he was Stan. Looping back to Kylie Minogue, well, why not? Initially there was a chance that Dennis Hopper might appear in the special, which, unless he's done a spectacularly good impression of Geoffrey Palmer, obviously didn't happen. And then Kylie Minogue expressed an interest in appearing in a Doctor Who. I mean, she wasn't keen on having to give up 3 or 4 weeks needed to film, but things worked out. Kylie Minogue as Astrid Peth makes a fantastic companion.
I'm sort of unemployed now. I was thinking that blue box is kind of small, but I could squeeze in.
There's a spurious link between Doctor Who and Kylie. In the late 80s, around the time she was known as being an actress, well, she was in Neighbours, there was a story during the rounds of Australian media that the ratings for certain TV programs were not particularly accurate, back when households participating in TV rating surveys had to fill in a book. Apparently some people were embarrassed by the idea of some people knowing just exactly how much they watched Doctor Who and Neighbours and would instead say they watched something else like the evening news. Also, the Daleks are big fans of Kylie. So finally we reached the 4th series, which would be broadcast in 2008. Series 4 of course introduced a new companion, or more accurately reintroduced Donna Noble, who would travel with the Doctor for the next 13 episodes.
I just want a mate.
You just want to mate?
I just want a mate.
You're not mating with me, sunshine.
The original plan was that after decades of casting mainly 20-somethings, the time was ripe for a slightly older companion, specifically for this season, a woman in her 30s, probably named Penny and probably a northerner, basically like Donna. At the time, Catherine Tate's career was doing very nicely, thank you very much. Russell T Davies thought there really wasn't much point in asking her whether she could commit to a whole series. He had planned for Donna to show up in his big season finale. In the meantime, Russell T Davies pushed on with fleshing out the character of Penny.
Don't get all chippy with me, Vera Duckworth. Pop your gloves on and go pig whipping.
Of course, you don't get anything if you don't ask, and as it turned out, Catherine Tate was really keen on joining the series. After the actress signed on for the role, the storylines planned for Penny were reformatted to suit Donna Noble.
I don't know, it's all sort of... I don't know what the word is.
Since her abortive nuptials, Donna had become caught up in investigating strange goings-on. I mean, I once had to collect everybody in the drawing room to discover the culprit of a mystery that had been plaguing the household, the incredible amount of toilet paper that we were going through after a barbecue. Look, I know it was you, Granny Irene. I mean, that was the reason cited by her defence counsel in the subsequent court case regarding the assault with a supersized economy pack of Costco toilet tissue.
Oh, no, we're not married.
We're so not married.
Never,
ever.
Donna is loud, opinionated, and for once not interested in the Doctor in any other way other than as a travelling companion.
Donna, stop it.
Listen, I don't know what sort of kids you've been flying around with in outer space, but you're not telling me to shut up.
Partners in Crime shows the Doctor and Donna independently investigating the same suspicious company, but somehow managing to miss each other in a vaguely comedic way. Adipose is a miracle weight loss drug, like Ozempic, except here we have mounds of blubber-fueled Funko Pops popping out of people's stomachs. Aliens are using the unwanted fat from people wanting to lose weight to reproduce. Aliens from a planet where Diet Coke is banned. The concept of lipo-aliens is cute and yet horrific, but probably due to the time slot skews towards cute, with some CG that really detracts from the concept.
I'm waving at fat.
Sarah Lancashire was the episode's villain, a fat-napping super nanny. Originally Donna's father and her mother Sylvia were to be featured, as they had in The Runaway Bride, but actor Howard Atfield's poor health meant he wouldn't be able to continue working on the series. The character was tweaked and Bernard Cribbins' character from Voyage of the Damned became Donna's grandfather, Wilf.
That's Donna! That's Donna!
Fires of Pompeii sees the Doctor and Donna arrive in the ancient town the day before the local mountain becomes a volcano that will famously destroy the town. I mean, that's a hotel reservation that you'd love to cancel and be happy about wearing the bullshit restocking fee. There's more to the story, as there are people who seem to know a lot about the Doctor and Donna, a race of fiery aliens, and local cult members are turning to stone, which I suppose does underscore the importance of moisturising.
How many people died?
20,000.
Donna is determined to save the townspeople, while the Doctor has to get her to understand the limits of time travel.
Tomorrow he burns to death.
And that's my fault.
Right now, yes.
As with every new companion, the Doctor has to explain the rules of time travel and how they can understand people speaking Latin.
What can I get you, my love?
Vene vide vici.
Me no speak Celtic. No can do missy.
It's the sort of thing that makes Doctor Who, with decades of continuity, easy for someone to jump into. You just pick a companion or a Doctor and the series basics will be pointed out to you fairly quickly. As for holy shit, number one, it's future Dr. Peter Capaldi, who was at this point starring as his other memorable character, Malcolm Tucker, in the thick of it.
Snap the thumb and forefinger off of every single person I see.
And holy shit, number two, future companion Karen Gillan. There's also comedian Phil Cornwall and Drop the Dead Donkey star Victoria Wicks. It's a pretty solid episode, lots of running around, huge stakes. It's either the Earth or Pompeii, a decision the Doctor doesn't take lightly. And then there's the silly bit at the end where the laws of physics can't override the laws of drama and a watertight contract for a complete season. How the hell did they survive that? Look, it doesn't matter. It's such a well put together episode with lots of scale and ambition that it just ends up really, really good and entertaining. This series went to Rome to film parts of the episode, which makes Pompeii feel like an actual place rather than a BBC set. And I bet the coffee was better, or at least there were lots of people who would tell you the coffee was so much better. Planet of the Ood answers some of the questions brushed aside in the Ood's first episodes, namely, what's their deal? Oh, that's right, they're slaves. Ouch. Well, the Doctor does what he does best and helps free the Ood. They've been commoditised, but the market is saturated. What's more, the Ood have started to talk back and fight back. There's a mystery here, an Ood done it. The Ood rebellion sees them take out the humans who've been exploiting them, reserving the choicest retribution for the company's boss, not by killing him, but by turning him into an Ood. This is known as an Ood pro quo. Tim McInerney was a serious actor, but for many will always be known for his role in the Blackadder series.
What do you want, darling?
The Ood, having been given such a tragic backstory, would kind of make it hard for them to appear as threatening creatures in future appearances. The Doctor makes a big deal of the Ood slavery in this episode, but completely overlooks the Romans' use of slaves the previous show. We also don't get the obvious spin-offs like Ood, Where's the Car?
I do not understand, miss.
Why do you say miss? Do I look single?
And also, since we're in that headspace and not enough of you have unsubscribed so far, let's just get this out of the way. In this story, some of the Oods have names. Call me the Ood, or His Oodness, or Ooda, or El Ooderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing. The Sontaran, Strategem and the Poison Sky is a two-parter containing all that's great and all that's less so about the series at this time.
We have an intruder!
How did he get in? In through the window?
The Sontarans are back, which is hard to miss with the episode's title, but here they're back en masse with a ploy to turn the Earth into a cloning planet to churn out even more Sontaran warriors.
And I'm bringing you back to Earth.
Martha's back, but for much of the story she's been turned into a Sontaran clone working against her new bosses, Unit. Unit are back, a slightly nondescript unit, but it's good to see them. The unit they show here feels a bit like one of those season 13 unit stories where they couldn't get Nicholas Courtney back as the Brigadier. So we've got unit soldiers with a poor grasp of the concept of cover getting mown down by aliens. Yep, that checks out as a unit story. The Sontarans are able to nearly take over the planet thanks to a device that's been added to half of the world's cars, Atmos, which not only makes fossil fuel-based cars seem almost non-polluting, but upgrades their built-in sound systems with immersive object-based audio. The least successful story element here is Rattigan, the boy genius tech bro sociopath, a tautology if there ever was one, who wants to take his little genius school to another planet after he does a deal with the Sontarans.
You can say Atmos system, because it stands for atmospheric emission system, so you're saying atmospheric emission system. Do you see, Mr. Conditional Clause?
It's been a long time since anyone said no to you, hasn't it?
Donna's grandfather Wilf finally learns about the Doctor, while Donna's mum Sylvia is kept in the dark. The modern series has been happy to show us the people left behind by their companions. In the original series, if you met a companion's family members, they would usually be dead by the end of the first story.
Brett Fine was my brother.
Well, in the modern show, meeting the family members is handy, because whenever we have Earth under some form of duress, we can just cut to the family members worrying in a corner, rather than cutting to some rando in a terrace house. Chris Ryan, yes, Mike from The Young Ones and Kiv from the original series, is the new Sontaran commander. And this story also marks Dan Starkey's first appearance as a Sontaran. They're slightly comical, just slightly comical, like trying to buy something from Curry's without signing up for an extended warranty. Having the Sontarans back is great, and for pretty much the first time in the show, we see more than a handful of them. They now wear blue armour and are of a more diminutive size.
You impugn my honour!
Yeah, I'm really glad you didn't say belittle, because then I'd have a field day.
But they also now have a well-developed sense of rhythm.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise playing in the street. Gonna be a big man someday. You've got mud on your face, you big disgrace. Kicking your can all over the place, singing we will rock you.
For the glory of Sontar!
And then we get to what is, I suppose it's easily the weakest episode of the fourth series. A story that seems to have started with this line,
"Hello, Dad,"
and then just never really found what it was doing. The Doctor gets his DNA scanned and a clone called Jenny is made, and then there's a generations-long war that hasn't been running as long as everybody expected. Martha goes off with this fella in an enemy mine type deal.
She's my daughter.
While Jenny does some cartwheels through some deadly lasers. I once tried to do cartwheels through security lasers in a museum in the middle of the night, but all I ended up doing was knocking the priceless vase off its pedestal. Jenny is played by Georgia Moffat, who is literally the Doctor's daughter since her father was the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, whose real name is Peter Moffat, who when he was the Doctor was also directed by somebody else called Peter Moffat. And then just to weird things up, Georgia Moffat would later marry David Tennant, whose favourite Doctor is also now his father-in-law.
Oh no.
Even weirder, one of their sons, Ty Tennant, was in Game of Thrones prequel The House of Dragons, with Tennant's successor Matt Smith, who, just to make an even more spurious link, also in this episode is actor Joe Dempsey, who would also appear on Game of Thrones as Gendry. Look, I know it's no fun fact about Wanda Ventham, but it is certainly competitive. And it also has Nigel Terry, who was King Arthur in the classic film Excalibur.
You talk all the time, but you don't say anything.
I know.
The Doctor's daughter ends with the Doctor stopping the war that's lasted as long as a salad at an airport cafe.
This war started 7 days ago.
And then Jenny goes off on her own adventures, setting up a return appearance that is about as likely as D.B. Cooper appearing on This Is Your Life. It's not completely terrible like an asteroid strike, but it is pointlessly annoying like a stone chip from a lawnmower breaking your bathroom window. The Unicorn and the Wasp sees the Doctor and Donna gatecrash a party at a country house in the 20s, where they'll find two things: an Agatha Christie-style murder mystery, and Agatha Christie herself.
Next thing you know, you'll be telling me it's like Murder on the Orient Express, and they all did it. Murder on the Orient Express? Oh, yeah.
Donna tries to get a co-creator credit, while the Doctor teams up with the mystery novelist on the cusp of a real-life mystery where Christie disappears for a few days.
The plucky young girl who helps me out.
No police women in 1926.
I'll pluck you in a minute.
The episode is very slight. It's fun and silly in the first half, comedy for most of the time, and then the show remembers its science fiction, and this is where parts of it fall apart like an overstuffed taco. The Doctor curing himself after being poisoned. Well, look, it's good that David Tennant felt he could so readily commit himself fully to the character, I suppose. In the end, it's not all bad, mainly because of the cast. It's an episode where the viewer will do a double take multiple times. The show has Felicity Kendall. It also has Felicity Jones, and for long-time Doctor Who fans, Christopher Benjamin, who was memorable in some previous appearances in the show, most notably in Talons of Weng-Chiang.
Shock! Look, shock! I need a shock! Right then. Big shock. Coming on.
Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead is writer Stephen Moffat doing his Stephen Moffatiest for somebody else before he would finally take over the show from the 5th series. The Doctor and Donna arrive in a library in the far future, but everybody's gone. There are millions of life signs, but there are only two people. An expedition arrives led by archaeologist Dr. River Song.
Hello, sweetie.
Who seems to have met the Doctor several times, even if the Doctor has no memory of her. Yes, it's a horror Doctor Who. curing constipation for the show's most squeamish viewers. And it's also very emotionally manipulative. I mean, all good television is emotionally manipulative. I mean, if you truly want to feel nothing, you might as well be watching The Test Card or an episode of Coupling. Here, a lot of what we see feels calculated rather than instinctual.
Where am I?
You need to stop and feel sad here.
Hey, who turned out the lights?
You have to feel scared here. And that's before we treat the characters cruelly. Let's give Donna a family and take it away. Have the Doctor meet River and kill her off. Here's some silly thing that has people who've already died still for some random reason able to speak to you before they completely die. It is like that time Auntie Beryl ate the last after dinner mint but then asked if you wanted it. I do like these episodes, I like them a lot. I just wish I didn't hear the script's gears grinding away in the background.
Is alright special Time Lord code for really not alright at all?
We get a striking visual that's at first a bit innocent but really quite horrific, but is also something that doesn't make a lick of sense, like sticking a dead person's face on a statue, etc. Alex Kingston, of course, is always brilliant and watchable as Dr. Rivers' song, who has a unique connection to the Doctor. It's worth paying attention. Many of the throwaway lines here will be threads in future episodes featuring the character. It's also taken a few years for another former League of Gentlemen star to appear. This time it's Steve Pemberton. Tallulah Riley would later appear in Westworld, among other poor life choices. Colin Salmon also appears.
Oh, you're not, are you? Tell me you're not archaeologists.
Watching episodes of Doctor Who written by Stephen Moffat is a little bit like working sourdough. I might just be being too hard on this. Or I'm not being hard enough.
So sometime in the future, I just give you my screwdriver. Yeah. Why would I do that?
I didn't pluck it from your cold, dead hands, if that's what you're worried about.
Stephen Moffat was also one of the few writers that Russell T Davies generally wouldn't feel the urge to rewrite. But the very important thing about Stephen Moffat's writing is that it's really just like a Pringle. One moth and you can't stop.
The Vashta Narada. Literally the shadows that melt the flesh.
From the rebooted show's second series, the production team had worked out a way to maximise their filming schedule, and one of those was to write an episode that didn't feature the main cast for the bulk of the show. In effect, they could set it up so 2 episodes could be filmed at once. This season they tried something different and split up the main team. Midnight is a simple episode that only needs a few effects, 1 set and some actors. In fact, the best special effect is David Tennant. Also, we are dancing around the fact that this was specifically written to be the show's cheap and affordable episode, the Dacia Sandero of Doctor Who episodes.
Oh, you're so special. As it happens, yes I am.
The Doctor goes on a day trip in a space minibus with some other people. The annoying in-flight entertainment is sabotaged by the Doctor, and then they all have a merry chat, which is going along nicely until something goes horribly tits up, and some creature starts messing with their heads, setting everybody against each other. It's nice enough for the more actory stuff, even if the plot just sort of ends when Russell T Davies ran out of runway. There's the kid from Merlin, Colin Morgan, and actor David Troughton, who'd appear in Classic Who a few times, but he was also the son of the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton. The episode's director, Alice Troughton, is unrelated. Also unrelated, reality and Uncle Reg's tax deductions. It does seem like a pretty awful sightseeing bus where the windows are closed because they've let in killer light, and because there's a creature that threatens to take over everyone. But look, it could be a lot worse. At the very least, it's not a Ryanair flight into Stansted.
For God's sake, run.
In some space market, Donna is given a free reading by a fortune teller, which ends with Donna making a different choice in life, which means she doesn't meet the Doctor, who dies.
What did they find? Sorry.
And then all of the major events threatening Earth take place without the Doctor being there to stop them. The Titanic does actually crash into Earth and makes southern England uninhabitable. Not going to touch that one. And Donna, Wilf and Sylvia become refugees in the north. Truly a fate worse than... Look, I'm not going to touch that one either.
Why won't you tell me your name?
None of this was meant to happen.
Then Blondie shows up to tell Donna she can fix this, that an insect on her back is doing something to time, and the only way to sort it all out is to go back and make a left turn. Rose doesn't immediately identify herself to Donna. She does give her a message for the Doctor.
Bad wolf.
A 50-minute episode with just the companion was a unique thing to do, with Donna being much more real here. She's not as argumentative as usual, she's almost broken by the end. It's a really solid episode that sets up a big finale.
She said the stars are going out.
But not just the usual big finale, but a really, really, really big finale that's so big, it's too big, but whatever you thought of previous finales, which were of course big, that's nothing compared to this season's ending, which is really, really big. The stolen Earth and Journey's End is as big as the previous paragraph implies. We have planets being moved and the Daleks are up to no good. Dalek Khan is now a broken Dalek prophet, and the Daleks have once again fallen under the spell of their creator, Davros.
Welcome to my new empire, Doctor.
And in the story that feels suspiciously like it was meant to be David Tennant's swan song but actually wasn't, the show brings back everyone. Starting with Billy Piper and Freema Agyeman. But why stop there? There's Mickey and Jackie, there's some folks from Torchwood, some folks from the Sarah Jane Smith Adventures. And Davros is back. Julian Bleach channels the best Davros, played by Michael Wisher, and gives us an excellent 21st century version of the character, who is incredibly creepy. Creepier than staying in an Airbnb that somehow has 36 GoPros on the same Wi-Fi. In order to get everything in, the episode moves at a fairly solid clip, rarely stopping for breath or to collect their thoughts or even just to have a drink of water. I mean, seriously, people, dehydration is no joke. Just ask Davros. Okay, so Davros and the Daleks have moved a bunch of planets, including Earth, which will help them to use a weapon called the Reality Bomb, which is basically just to kill every other life form that's not a Dalek. So obviously, my personal nemesis, Alex Smelly, is safe. These episodes have very long sections of Zoom calls, group video chats, and then lots of people furiously tapping away at keyboards. Now, you can tell these episodes were filmed in 2008 and not the 2020s, because otherwise it would sound something more like this. Must be using Cherry MX Blues, maybe a Gateron Blue. It's building and building, but building to what? Something loud and messy, like a canteen in a dynamite factory. The Doctor catches a glancing blast from a Dalek, doesn't need to fully regenerate, passes the energy on into that hand, the one he lost in the Christmas invasion that was hung onto by Torchwood, recovered by the Doctor, and then later on, Donna, who's apparently for this episode only the most important person in the universe, is in the TARDIS when the Daleks try to destroy it. She touches the hand and something happens, and then we've got another Doctor, a biological meta-crisis.
You're naked!
Which goes two ways when Donna gets the Doctor's intelligence and saves the day when no one is looking.
Donna, you can't even change a plug.
Do you want to bet, time boy?
You'll suffer for this.
The universe is saved, everyone goes home, but Donna is basically dying from too much information, which is pretty much the same as reading Derek from Work's Facebook feed. The only cure, wiping her memory of the Doctor.
You can't mention me or any of it.
Rose Tyler finally gets her way, and the duplicate Doctor is hers if she wants. So he is the 10th Doctor with all of his memories and personality, but he's not a perfect digital backup. It's DW, not WD. He's more of a VHS copy, one generation away from the master tape with some quality loss. After Russell T Davies had gotten rid of the Time Lords because they were old hat, he realised too late that they did serve a story purpose and made up his own version, the Shadow Proclamation, to do all the sorts of powerful things that had previously been the preserve of Time Lords. They'd been mentioned every now and then, with an air of mystery that made you really wonder what exactly they were. In the end, they were space police, with a few Jadoon hanging around the lobby of a bank with some refugees from the Omega Man. In this story, David Tennant has found his version of the Spice Girls.
Is that good or bad?
There's Ginger Spice, Baby Spice, Scary Spice, Posh Spice, Sporty Spice, and their opening act,
Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister.
But as this is a Dalek story, it's a perfect segue to this.
Yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I wanna sing a song. If you want to be my lover, you gotta get with my friend. Get with my friend, it lasts forever. Friendship never ends.
Part of this works really well. It is very nice to see Sarah Jane Smith and Davros have a moment of recognition. It's really cool to see everybody back, even Harriet Jones, even if only because Russell T Davies needed somebody he could kill off. Rose and Martha are back with their families. K9 even pops up out of the blue for 10 seconds. These episodes want to wrap up every loose end of the first 4 years of the renewed series. But having the story work up into the end of everything, you then have to write yourself out of this corner. So the second clone Doctor seems purely there so we can go off with Rose Tyler, a lifelike Doctor with realistic skin and real hair.
Some really great hair.
Yes, at times it feels like a blaze at a fireworks factory, colourful and loud, with a plot that hangs together about as well as a pair of married acrobats going through a messy divorce. But at the same time, I just can't take my eyes off it. So, mission accomplished. I really do love the fact that director Graham Harper was still working on Doctor Who after having helmed a number of episodes of both the modern show and the classic series.
My vision is not impaired.
Penelope Wilton would soon turn up in the mega-hit Downton Abbey, and Michael Brandon briefly appears, and you wouldn't know it without looking him up, but he is one of the luckiest buggers on the planet.
Didn't I ever tell you? Best 10-pin Chiswick? 100 words per minute?
Turning Donna into a genius burning bright to fix everything in a minute.
Half Doctor. Half Donna.
Dr. Donna.
This season was more than a little subtle in setting up the season finale. Turn Left took moments from the season and twisted them.
Well, apart from that replica of the Titanic flying over Buckingham Palace on Christmas Day, I mean, that's got to be a hoax.
What do you mean the bees are disappearing?
There was the whole setup of the bees, which was then thrown away with little payoff.
You're saying bees are aliens?
Don't be so daft. Not all of them.
There's the running gag of the Doctor and Donna constantly denying they're a couple.
Oh, no, we're not a couple.
We're not married.
Well, obviously not. No wedding ring.
Oh.
Donna, being so strident, was eventually diagnosed by the Doctor in the final episode.
The most important woman in the whole wide universe.
She still is. She's my daughter.
And maybe you should tell her that once in a while.
I liked Donna as a companion. She was something very different from the series. And of course, her being from Chiswick confuses American fans.
God damn it, what's a Chiswick?
Donna had an actual arc, which was more than just exploring the galaxy and then slowly falling in love with the Doctor. When we first met Donna, she was so wrapped up in whatever was in her head that she managed to ignore things like, aliens appearing in the sky, massive invasions and the like. Then her eyes were open to a wider universe and she couldn't get enough. This particular series gave her two looks at life without the Doctor, one where she had the life she always wanted, and another where everything turned to shit. Can you guess which is which?
Still could be worse.
Oi, watch it, spaceman.
Oi, watch it, Earth Girl. I sound like you.
Yeah, for a brief moment she was the most special person in the universe, manipulated by a rogue Dalek, and after all of this ended up losing all memory of the Doctor. Brilliant and quite sad at the same time.
Who's he?
Captain Jack, don't. Just...
But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with actually killing a companion off, or just letting them go home. Murray Gold's music is still fantastic, with his theme for Donna being one of his best motifs in the series. There's also his first remix of the Doctor Who theme, itself a remix of the original Doctor Who theme. And for me, this is his very best arrangement of the show's signature tune. For this series, I loved a lot of it. There are bits that I'm not as keen on. There are a few moments where logic took a holiday in Brazil, but got lost in the rainforest. On balance though, it works, mostly. The people the show was aimed at, family audiences, laughed it up. And it would have made for a great ending to the Russell T Davies era, and for David Tennant's reign as the Doctor. But Stephen Moffat was coming on board as Doctor Who's new showrunner, but his first season wouldn't be ready until 2010, potentially leaving a year without new Doctor Who, which seems quite quaint now. However, we would get a series of specials, beginning with the 2008 Christmas special and ending with David Tennant finally regenerating in early 2010. But like my solution to Landau's problems, that's a story for another day. Catherine Tate would return to Doctor Who, along with Tennant, for a series of specials celebrating the series' 60th anniversary. But for those upcoming 2009 specials, the Doctor would have a different companion each episode. And along the way, the Doctor would become high on his own supply.
I don't want to go.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.
Sun's clear, the fancy exterminate!